there, and welcome to the 62nd episode of Retrotopia. My name's Alan, or if you prefer, think of me as the ghost of Christmas past, because as it stands, I am recording this 2 days before Christmas, or Christmas Eve, if you like, and of course you are listening to this, well, either a couple of days or the Sunday after Christmas. So if that's the case, I genuinely hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. I hope you're feeling bloated and fat with cheese and regret. Obviously, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, I hope you had an amazing one. For those of you who don't, I hope you had a fantastic week. We are dipping into the backlog for this particular episode because, we usually record on, I don't know, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. And of course, this week, we're taking a week off and spending time with our families and generally just getting into the spirit of the season. So, this is an episode that Sam and I recorded a few months ago, and we are talking about Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Ring of Fates for the Nintendo DS. And how about that for a mouthful? As such, it's going to be a slightly shorter intro than usual because we don't have our 9-bit banter box. We don't have the comments on the game of the week, and frankly, I just don't feel like doing a gentleman's interlude this week because just keeping it simple, keeping it streamlined. What I am going to do, though, of course, is do our plugs as usual, which, as I'm sure most of you already know, you can find all of our socials at linktr.ee/retrotopia. That's linktree/retrotopia. You can find our YouTube, our Blue Sky, X, Instagram, all of that good. Our Discord, which is probably the best place to go to talk to like-minded individuals and tell us what you think and just get involved in the conversation, join the party. It's that's where we're having the Retrotopia Christmas party, which of course you've missed by now, but the party never stops in the Discord. Don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You can also find a link to our Patreon where you can comment on episodes, you can listen to our extra content, our quick play mini reviews, our Retro Bites monthly discussion episodes. You can listen to the Retrotopia After Dark, which is a paid perk at the $2 tier, I think. I'm crap at this, so if I get it wrong, I'm sure Brian and Sam will let me know. You can also, at the $2 tier, pick a quick play. Pick a game for us to review and throw it at a host of your choice, like the snowballs that we don't have at the moment because it's very cold and miserable in the UK, but no snow just yet, which is a shame. So this is usually where we would get into our 9-bit banter box, but it is just too culturally elegant for a slob like me to get into at Christmas time. So we're going to skip that. I'll tell you what I'm doing, why not, while we're here. Pretty much just getting into the swing of Christmas, really. As I said, tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and I'm actually ready. Unusually so. All the presents are ready, everything's wrapped, everything's good to go. So tomorrow is going to be a case of dressing a Christmas cake, watching The Muppets Christmas Carol, which is the greatest Christmas film of all time. I will hear no argument, and it just makes sense for that to be the episode what the episode, the film that we watch on Christmas Eve, because as Kermit has been known to say, after all, there's only one more sleep till Christmas. So yeah, that's why we watch that. Uh, after the after our daughter goes to bed, of course, we will put some toys together and get that all ready while drinking and watching Die Hard, which is again another of our Christmas Eve traditions. So really looking forward to it. Um, what have I been playing? I did tell myself that I wasn't going to get into anything big before Christmas, and then I decided to start playing Pokemon Violet for some reason. So a nice, quick, small light. I suppose it is a light game, all joking aside, but still, not quite sure why I've decided to delve into what could potentially be tens of hours of RPG. But like I said off the top, I never know what the fuck I'm doing. So there that is. Other than that, not really playing much. Just waiting to see what the big red guy brings for me on Christmas Day. Um, Obviously, I'll know by the time this episode comes out, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Game of the Year winner Astrobot may be under the tree. We'll see. And if it is, I'm looking forward to playing that one. So, no gentleman's interlude, no episode comments. What are we talking about? We're talking about a game. Let's just ramble on for a little bit longer. This is a game, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Ring of Fate. It's obviously part of the Crystal Chronicles series, and it's an entry on the Nintendo DS. And this is a game that I picked up, God, ages ago in my endless search for all of the Final Fantasy games. I'm looking to get a full collection of the games, and I didn't realize how big an undertaking that was. So, this was one I picked up and I played it on the DS, and I just, this was in the early days. This is, God, I think I'd only recently officially joined the show, and I may have brought it up as a potential episode. I didn't know if it was going to be a quick play or a full episode or what have you. And Sam, God bless him, jumped on the opportunity. I think he had it as well, but hadn't played it. So he decided to jump into the mix, take on a almost Final Fantasy, but mostly Zelda-like RPG, and join in with me. And as I say, we do tend to bank a couple of episodes because we are semi-professional podcasters, and sometimes we know what we're doing. So if something comes along where we need to pull an episode out of the backlog, here we are. So that's it. I think I've gone on for long enough. Enjoy the episode. Again, I'll see you when this comes out on the other side of Christmas. And once again, thank you for all of your support in 2025. Thank you for your support in 2025 anyway, because I'm sure it'll be there. Jumping the gun a little bit. Thank you for all of your support in 2024. And it's been a hell of a good year. So I appreciate that. And I am going to shut up now because I've gone on for too long. This is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Ring of Fates, released in August 2007 in Japan and March 2008 literally everywhere else. I was going to make some sort of joke or pun about Ring, but we're too mature for that. So enjoy the episode, guys. Thanks for listening.
All right. Thanks for that intro, whoever one of us did the intro. We are here to talk about Final Fantasy Ring of Fates Crystal. What is it? Crystal Chronicles Ring of Fates. God, I even can't even say the name of the goddamn game. There's too many
I mean,
words in it.
that is a lot more complicated than just like Final Fantasy VII.
There's too many words in it. Damn it.
There are. God damn it, Final Fantasy.
And I didn't realize this because I'll go into my history with this game is that I don't really have much history with this game. I just played it for the first time this year. But I was
Yeah.
ordering something off of Play Asia, which is like a video game site, whatever. Like sometimes you get like good pre-orders or special editions of shit on there. And I think I was looking for the free shipping because I spotted this game and I just recently picked up the DS and I was like, well, let's give it a shot. And I just saw Final Fantasy and it wasn't one of the mainline games. And I thought, oh, it's probably an RPG. So I'll at least enjoy it for that aspect. Um, ooh, it is not. It is not what I was expecting at all.
No, right? And you know what? I've not even really thought about it until like you've just brought it up. But this isn't an RPG.
I
I
mean, it
don't
kind of
think
is. It's got RPG
it
elements.
has.
Like your characters level up in a way, and you
Yeah,
do load
kind
out
of.
their equipment. I mean, I well, yeah, you can load out their
I,
equipment because you can get special shit for them to carry.
sure, action RPG then maybe.
Yeah, I would say.
But
Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say. I mean, so like, because I picked this game up, God, fucking ages ago, but I only got around to playing it this year as well.
Hmm.
Um, and so you actually started playing it after me, didn't you?
I did.
Like,
I remember you saying you played it, and then kind of it dawned on me like, oh, that's on my shelf too. And then
that's
Brian
right.
said,
Yeah,
oh, that's on my shelf too, and then didn't get very far in it and hated it. So it's just us on this one.
yeah. Brian fully tapped out. Just he noped out of this episode hard.
Yeah.
But so basically, we have the exact same experience with this game.
Yeah,
Really.
pretty much. I mean, we played it for the first
Yeah.
time very recently. Didn't know what to expect. Here's the thing: is as I was playing it, because of just the style of it and everything, how you're going through the dungeons and there's kind of puzzles and um, you are there. It is action RPG like. I was like,
Mm.
is this like what would happen if Zelda and Final Fantasy had a baby and it kind of sucked?
I mean, I mean, don't keep your cards close to your chest. Tell us what you really think. Come on.
Full disclosure, this is not my favorite game. It might
No,
get the DS
I,
bump though.
I mean, the DS was a fucking sexy console.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love it.
I love that little thing so much. Not as much as the Game Boy Advance. I've got a soft spot for the Game Boy Advance, but the DS is outstanding. And I mean, I did like this game. I mean, I've made no secret the fact that it's just like, I mean, this is. I mean, I don't know. This is a backlog episode. We have no idea when this is going out. We have no idea who's doing the intro. But we have no idea what we're doing, which is kind of part of the course for Retrotopia. But I I was sweating this episode a little bit because I don't know where to fucking begin with this game, and I think it's kind of niche in so much as I mean to set some of the set the table a little bit. So this is a prequel
Hmm.
to probably the more well-known Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which originally released on the GameCube. I don't know when, and was recently, I think, remastered and re-released for the Switch. You said you found that, didn't you?
I did, and I didn't realize it was on there, and now I kind of want to play it.
I vaguely remember. I'm sure I remember seeing that it was coming out for the Switch. Now I have it on GameCube, but I haven't played it yet because when I heard that this was a prequel, I just thought, well, fuck it, I'll go chronological and see how it goes. But as far as I'm aware, the Crystal Chronicles games they basically came about because Nintendo lost the license to the Final Fantasy games
Right.
when it went Final Fantasy VII went over to PlayStation. And then they, I guess, regained the license, but then they weren't allowed to make numbered Final Fantasy games. So instead, we got sort of this strange offshoot
Mm-hmm.
of Final Fantasy, which I guess in true Nintendo style just kind of allowed them to do whatever the fuck they wanted with it. And
It does have
yeah,
kind
this
of a
is.
Nintendo edge to it, where it's not edge because it's not edgy at all. It's cutesy. It's got like a.
Oh,
It's got a. I mean, it's got difficult points. Don't get me wrong, but I mean,
mm,
it's definitely got that kind of like kiddie. I mean, you're playing as children, basically.
sure.
I mean, the main characters are twin brother and sister that are kids. They grow a little bit during the course of the story, but for the most part, you're little kids.
Yeah. And
Very
everything
Nintendo,
has
you
that.
know.
Absolutely. And everything has that sort of big headed,
Mm-hmm.
cutesy sort of art style. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'll debate with you about whether or not it's got an edge because as I played through this game, I think that art style, the aesthetic of it, lulled me into a bit of a false sense of security there because there's some shit that happens in this game and it gets dark,
Oh
I
yeah, I
think.
suppose. Yeah, there are some things that subject matter wise,
Definitely,
right? Yeah.
definitely. And I think it caught me off guard all the more because, like you said, I went into this and the aesthetic, I thought, well, okay, yeah, this is pretty Zelda-y. And I was like, okay, I sort of think I know what I'm getting myself in for. And so when some of those big story beats happened, like, I was genuinely surprised. And
Yeah.
we'll get into it a bit later on, I'm sure, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I just
Mm,
something just popped into my brain that we're going to talk about later and I was like, "Holy fuck, that's right. There was some shit in this
it get
game."
it gets deep. It
Yeah,
gets deep. So, I mean, did you finish this game?
I did.
Nice.
I did. I pressed on cuz I was like, "I'm going to fucking finish this." Because man, going through like I was just looking back through the game facts on like a walkthrough just to kind of refresh myself on the
Mm.
levels, and because it is very linear. I mean, you basically just progress um, from dungeon to dungeon or from area to area. That's kind of a closed space that you kind of explore your way through, and you fight a boss and you get a piece of the crystal, and then you move on. You can go
Yeah, I
back.
think you can. I think
Yeah.
you can call them dungeons. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
a good enough.
Kind of dungeon crawler. It's got a map, and you're exploring the map, and you can go back to previous dungeons anytime you want, and you can either mine for items or gold coins or magicite, which is the magic that you use in this game. It's a pretty limited set of spells that you have, but you get these
Oh
orbs of
yeah.
magicite, and you have a limited number. Magicite actually sounded like something magical that you spread on toast. Um, I wasn't a fan of the name magicite. I just kept thinking of like Vegemite or whatever it is that you put on
Yeah.
the. um,
You either love it or you hate it. Yeah.
I've actually never had it because we don't have that here unless I don't
No,
know.
I've not had it, but I've tried Marmite, and
That just sounds gross.
it
Marmite.
is. And listen, don't come at me, all the fucking Marmite crew
No, dude,
out
come
there. I
at
know.
us. Come at us.
Yeah, all right. Come and join our Discord and tell me how wrong I am for not liking the taste of fucking engine grease. But
Just to get
but
Discord members, I don't care. You can come yell at me about Marmite, whatever the hell that is, and I'll talk to you about
yeah,
Magicite, and we'll be friends.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I think I
But
definitely
yeah,
was having a good time with this game up until about maybe like the third or fourth, probably the fourth dungeon. I think it's the one where you're in the forest and you find Nash, which is one of the
okay,
playable
yeah.
characters, but that level sucks. I got stuck in
There's a
there for
lot.
a while.
There's a lot of up and down in that level.
Yeah.
Actually, that I suppose like we should explain a little bit about
Yeah,
obviously,
let's talk about the
you kind
gameplay.
of
Yeah.
sure. So it's not turn-based combat as you might expect from what the game looks like, and this is again what really surprised me. So you do walk around, you can just clobber enemies which are already present on the screen,
Right.
which is something I do genuinely enjoy
Yeah, and they're
about
on the
an
map too, so you
RPG.
can kind of seek them out.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those games where you don't have random encounters. You can choose to avoid, you can choose to engage,
Right.
and I always appreciate that. Not that there's anything wrong with random encounters, but it's always nice to have that option. As you've mentioned, obviously, you do pick up other characters, which we'll get into shortly. But yeah, every screen I suppose you go into is its own self-contained area, which may involve a variety of different puzzles that you can do to get to the next area. And some of them are fairly straightforward, as you said, but then some of them, like you really have to explore and sort of figure out where you need to go next. It's not always entirely clear what you need to do.
No, and that's what started to irritate me later in the game is that not that the I wouldn't say that the puzzles got more complex. I just think I hate it when a game establishes some sort of mechanic and then doesn't use it until like for example, your main character Yuri could do kind of like a ground pound with his sword where you jump up and then you would like do a little flip and slam down. And
Yep.
you needed that in the last dungeon in order to access kind of like the final area. And I didn't remember that was something he could do. And so I saw this switch on the ground. I'm like, I don't really understand how to activate that. And I had to end up looking it up. And it was like, okay, so in the first level or two, maybe you establish that he can do this little ground pound thing, and then you don't use it for
Mm,
the literally the rest of the game until the end. And then you expect me
yeah.
to remember that he can do this thing that's been useless the whole time. Ah,
Sure, and especially if it's a long game, which I would hear the argument that this game is perhaps a little bit on the overlong side. I mean, it's not a massively long game, but
no.
I think I would agree that sort of towards the end it does start to overstay its welcome.
Yeah,
But if it's
I would say that for sure.
yeah, and if it's a game that you've sort of been dipping in and out of, then it's entirely likely you'll forget about these abilities. So you get what, four main characters basically. I mean, there are five main characters in the game, but one isn't playable. So you
Right.
pick up these extra characters, and all of them have their own little abilities that you can use to solve puzzles or in combat. And switching between them is actually pretty good and quick and intuitive, and I kind of do love that about the game. It's just they do give you a lot of variety
Mm-hmm.
with the characters. I mean, I'm not saying that they're perfect. Certainly the AI when not in use
Oh
is
my
leaves a
god, we
lot.
that's a frustration of mine.
Go ahead, go
Well,
ahead.
yeah. Well, I mean, when you're fighting, you've got all four. Once you've got all four playable characters, they're all on the screen with you fighting, a boss or some enemies or whatever. But they do jack shit, and I
Yeah,
understand that that's probably the case because they don't want the game to be too easy. They don't want, you know, one of your other characters to come in and kill the enemy for you, whatever. I get that. But then maybe they can stay the fuck out of the way if they're not going to do anything. It's just like
yeah,
they just kind of stand there or they follow you around and then they just get blasted with shit.
absolutely.
Only at the very end of the game did I figure out a pretty good tactic for not only keeping the like especially the boss enemies, but like keeping them off my unused characters is that I was just constantly swapping between characters to kind of draw because the enemy's main focus is going to be on your character,
Sure.
whoever you're controlling. So I would just kind of like frequently be swapping to kind of catch them off balance. And then also if they were charging up some sort of wide beam or wide angle attack that was going to hit everyone, you would run out of the way, and then your fucking stupid pals would just stand in front of it and get wasted. But there was there was a button that would call them to you, so they would just kind of like disappear and reappear behind you, like kind of reform your group. So whenever that
Yeah.
happened, I would just move out of the way and regroup them. So I was constantly like moving around and like regrouping my group behind me so that they wouldn't wander off and get killed. Because basically, like, you'd be fighting and then just like a second would pass and everyone's dead. It's like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah. So, I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, you're basically babysitting. So you're trying
Yes.
to fight the enemies, fight the bosses. And I mean, I wouldn't say this game is necessarily hard, but there are some certainly later game bosses where, they can give you a bit of a challenge. And not only are you trying to manage this boss, but you're also keeping an eye on everyone else. And I wasn't smart enough to think about swapping characters out. I more or less stuck with Yuri for the entire game,
Hmm.
and except for when I had to. And the number of times where Yuri would just be running around the screen, followed by like whatever three
Three ghosts.
go- ghosts, basically. Yeah, until I could like get some breathing room to throw out a couple of not Phoenix Downs. Was it Rays?
Yeah, there was a Raise Magicite, and then there was a Cure one. And
Oh,
they actually were, to their credit, they were very effective.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. They did. They tend to work in a sort of area of effect. I think, if I remember
Yes, yeah,
correctly.
and actually it would just kind of glow for a second, and your characters, if you walked through it, everyone would like kind of get the effect of it.
Absolutely. Which I can't imagine how fucking hard this game would have been had you had to do it all individually.
Oh, for fuck's
But
sake.
yeah,
Don't even suggest
but
that.
no, no. But you brought up the recall button, and I mean that I think is a bit of a godsend
Yeah.
because being able now. Obviously, you've got these three characters following you around who are collectively sharing one brain cell, and it's not impossible for them to just go blundering off a ledge or just
Yes.
falling down. Like, let's say you've been climbing up this level, solving puzzles all the way. They will literally just fall off anything.
Yep.
And if you had to go down and pick them up, my God, like the ability to call them back to where you are, you could basically just fuck them off for the level, figure it all out yourself, get to where you needed to go, and then just call
And
them
then just
over.
call them at the end.
And
Yeah. Here's a problem that
I,
sometimes you would do that, and like I don't understand who thought this through, but like not having a platform that's big enough for all four of you to stand on, but at the same time all four of you need to fucking stand on it for some reason, and then you call them to you and like two immediately fall back off again. It's just like it's so putsy. Why? And then there was one puzzle in particular that I'm thinking of now where it's like a series of like water locks, I think, and you had to kind of platform your way across these. They were like rotating platforms. They almost looked like clock gears or something like that. But you were in like yeah,
oh,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
yeah,
it took me
fuck.
so long to get through that because and then the other thing is like, yeah, you can let your party just kind of wander off, but they're also falling in the water, and for some reason the water hurts you, so they're just like slowly getting injured by just being in the water, helpless.
Nobody learned how to swim in
No,
Crystal Chronicles. No, and I don't know if anyone knows how to swim in the next game, but they fucking well better.
no,
I'm
I doubt it.
serious.
I doubt it.
I mean, I like most of the characters. I like that they all have their individual abilities and the fact that the levels tailor themselves to, for example, I don't know, who is it, Nash, who, for example, had the bow and you could
Mm-hmm.
shoot targets to make things move. You've got, was it Al? We would discuss this before the
Oh
episode, but we
yeah.
couldn't. It's Al.
Uh,
Al Hanalem. Al Hanalem. Al Hanalem.
yeah.
Al. They call him Al because
They
he,
call him
he
Al.
ends every sentence. They call him Al.
Dun 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 dun. And we're gonna do it again.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, but Al was
That
cool
was
because
worth.
he could use that magic staff to make platforms. Like there were basically hidden platforms, but if you access the whatever weird staff there was in the over in the dungeon, basically just on the ground,
Yeah,
you could drag, and it was on the touch screen too. It was on the bottom
sure. I
screen of
didn't.
the DS.
Probably my least favorite of the abilities though, because I had so much trouble dragging a line from because you
I
basically have
mean,
these
it is
torches
dumb.
that you could, yeah, you could drag a line from these torches to wherever you thought the invisible block was. But I just it worked maybe 50% of the time for me, and I
Right.
couldn't figure out what I was doing differently when I got it to work. So
I couldn't either.
I
And then sometimes there was a torch there to activate another torch or like a ledge or something like that, and the ledge was like just barely off screen. It's like
yeah,
can we keep everything that we need to use this torch to activate on the screen where I am
that
so
would
that
that would I realise we're working with limited hardware here, but if you want me to solve the puzzle, please have all of the puzzle on the screen.
so you'd have to stand in a very specific spot, and then like just part of the dotted line where you needed to like drag this magic power was like way in the
Yep.
corner.
And of course, now you're literally like the barest amount on the screen. Every fucking other character is just fallen off to their
Yeah, right.
doom.
And then you
And
fall off. The platforming and just kind of generally getting your party from point A to point B was just a comedy of bullshit. It was just like
yeah.
such ridiculous fucking horseshit. Sometimes I'd get so pissed.
Do you know what it makes? It's funny you should say pissed because it makes me think of like I've had nights coming back from the pub that look like this. It's just like we've all had a lot to drink, and just the adventure that we've taken to get home kind of resembles how the characters in Crystal Chronicles Ring of Fates move around the screen.
Oh
I
god, I
think.
could just imagine like you're stumbling back. You're like, Alan. Oh, he's fallen off.
Yeah,
There's no button to
we did.
regather everyone.
No, we didn't have recall buttons when I was a lad.
Oh, let's talk about these characters though.
Let's do it.
So you got Yuri, who's the main character, and actually, Chalinka is the twin sister that is kind of with him at all times.
Mm.
I think they are together. Like when you're playing as Yuri, you are Yuri and Chalinka, but they're just kind of like she's not on the screen, but she does like in all the
Yeah,
cutscenes and all the dialogue screens and everything. She is present the whole time.
yeah. Which is kind of weird, don't you think? Because I like right from the start, I thought, well, okay, I'm they're billing these two characters as being inseparable. I mean, part of one of the huge parts of the story is that these characters are their magic, such as it is, only works when they're together. And it's
Right.
just like, well, so, okay, well, right on. So she's obviously going to be another character that I can switch to, and she's going to be, my mage, perhaps. But she's, as you say, she's there, but she's no part of the combat whatsoever.
Right.
Like
And
she just kind of she disappears until she's needed.
right for dialogue and whatever. But I wonder if like is Yuri really using the magic, or is Chalinka kind of the aspect of that character that's using the magic? But maybe that's wrong too, because all the characters can use magicite, because it's just a ball in a sack, and you just use it. You-
Yeah, I think without going too deep into the story just yet, but I think Chelinka has like a special connection with the world crystal because
right.
it's Final Fantasy and there's always a crystal.
There's always a crystal.
There's always a crystal. I feel like we're on Dissidia again. There's
Oh,
always a crystal.
yeah, there is always a
What is it with
crystal.
us and these weird niche Final Fantasy games? Fuck, like
That should be our
who's
thing.
who's whose stupid idea was this? Oh, fuck,
Both
it
of
was
ours.
mine.
Yeah. um.
Um, but yeah, they
Yeah.
are, okay, twins, brother and sister, pretty cool characters.
Yeah, they're fine. Um.
Yeah,
And then you've got Alahalem, which we talked about real quick, and he's like a different race or whatever. He's a Uke. So he's
right.
like kind of tall and lanky, and he's got kind of a weird mask. You see them kind of around in the game, not too many of them, but They look kind
Hmm.
of I'd say kind of like a cross between like a VV Black Mage and like a Knight.
Yeah, I guess so. And for the longest time, like I definitely thought he was a robot. I don't know why. Just
Yeah, he
like
did kind of look robotic. Yeah.
he kind of looks a bit mechanical, doesn't he?
And he kind of talks mechanical too, because he always has that weird. I mean, the dialogue in the game is really well written because they really stick to that affectation that he has in his speech
Yeah.
pattern, where he says that everything is, he uses his I guess I would say he uses his descriptor words at the end of a sentence instead of, like at the end of a phrase instead of like in the phrase.
Yeah.
It's a
Like
oh, what
matters magical.
yeah, it's an occurrence mystical, or like something like that. It's like a really poetic way that he speaks. Um,
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting.
Which, they had to have gotten like halfway through the game and thought, why the fuck did we decide to do this? Because we've run out of words that end with "al."
Oh God, yeah, you got to commit to the bit at that point.
Oh, absolutely.
Can we just
Absolutely.
have Al not say anything for the rest of the game? But he does end up being a
That would
pretty crucial character.
sure. Yeah, I mean they all bring something to the table. I mean, while we're talking speech affectations, oh, Meath.
Oh God,
Oh God. I mean, if there's any character in this game that I did not get on with, it's Meath.
what is what
It's
was I might have blocked it out of my memory because I think
you might have done,
she was pretty fucking annoying.
but I just think like she almost every sentence ends with like E, like
Oh yeah, that was her thing. Um,
yeah, and
mm,
it just it that was old like 5 sentences in, and it did not get better.
no, but her ability was pretty cool. You could take magicite and create what was it? No, it wasn't magicite. You could take from these like fountains that spouted out like different colors of energy. You could gather them into her cauldron, and then you could use the
Mm,
stylus and the touchscreen to make magicite. So you had to like
that's right.
stir it up, and then there was different recipes for the different magicites. So like raise, I think was the most complicated one. I think you
Yeah.
needed like lightning, cure, and fire or something like that. But you would basically have this pot full of these little crystals, these different colored crystals that represented the different elements, and then you could kind of line them up on the side of the screen by tapping them, and then you had to like very slowly or steadily stir the pot with
Mm.
either your finger or the stylus, and then out would pop this magicite, and then you could tap it on the
Yeah, I
screen, and it would.
remember.
I thought that was really fun. I mean, it was a little tedious after a while, where it was like I'm running out of shit, and I'm like, well, this is the
Yeah.
only way that I can get more shit is to sit here for 15 minutes and fuck with this cauldron.
Yeah. And yeah, because you have to like keep it stirring at just the right
Yeah.
level until it sort of builds up and then coughs something out. And it's like it was fine, I guess. I mean, I kind of I never really found myself hurting for spells or what have you. So I didn't really use it all that much, but it was okay. It was neat. I mean, some of her other abilities with the cauldron, though, I found to be a bit more fun. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, that's right. She could like launch herself up off ramps and
that's it. Yeah. So she
um
basically hops into it and just blasts herself across ramps and across gaps and
yeah.
under like low hanging ceilings. And I think could she also use it to float? I
Yes, there
think.
was a it took me the longest time to figure out what the hell to do with this because there was a way
Oh,
that
me
you
too.
can make you could give the cauldron some wings, little angel wings, and then basically you have to pick it up. There was like one of the buttons to pick items up. And so if the cauldron had wings and she picked it up, then she could float across.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
sitting here like a dumbass, like jumping up on it, and it's not going anywhere, and like trying to figure out what else to
Buddy,
do, and whatever.
you are not the only dumbass.
I
I
don't.
I
They didn't really
uh,
explain what her abilities did or like what they were. Um,
no, and
yeah.
like pound for pound, I think like her abilities are the most relied upon for certainly sort of in the back end of the game.
Oh yeah.
Like you're using those a lot to get around.
Yeah, once you have her, she's your main kind of. Between her and Al, they are your main party members for traversing puzzles and stuff. Because Al's,
Mm,
ability to light torches or find the hidden platforms or whatever, and then Meath with her launching or floating or whatever.
yeah,
And then
and
some of that stuff, like if a dungeon room had a higher level where there were platforms above, it could be really hard to square up your float or your launch, and you just launch yourself off into like some random corner. There are a
oh
lot of
god,
in
yeah,
the forest and in that last dungeon. I think it's like a chapel or whatever. There were some real blind jumps that you had to make that I didn't appreciate.
sure. Well, it's that isometric viewpoint almost that
Yeah.
I always find difficult to sort of know where things are in relation to each other. And, yeah, you kind of have to look for the shadow for where you're going to land. But by that point, you're already too late if you've missed it. So
Oh yeah.
I hadn't even thought of that, but that's a fucking good point.
And then you're climbing all the way back up. And sometimes it was
Yeah.
like the way you would fall down, you would end up having to like retraverse multiple rooms to get back up to where you were.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What was your favorite? I'm looking through here. I don't know if you also have the walkthrough open. Did you have a favorite level?
Oh, God. I mean, bear in mind, like, I played this back in June, July.
Oh yeah,
So
it's
it's not
been a
exact.
while.
It has been a while. Well, it definitely wasn't the area where you had to, and I don't know why games feel the need to do this, but there was an area where you had to raise and lower the water level, if I remember correctly.
Fuck yeah, that's right. I was like, what is this? The fucking water temple? I think that
Yeah.
was that Rayla Sayel, I think was what that place was called.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Fuck, I don't know. Just off topic though, water temple, actually not that difficult, guys. Come on, get good. Just
Mm,
saying.
yeah, but if I don't play it for a while, I fucking forget how to do it.
And you know where to find me if you wanna take a shot. Discord, Linktree,
Yep, Vegasite or was that what it's called? Vegasite? Magicite?
Vegasite. Oh
Veg,
no, Vegasite sounds like a cream.
vegetable
Um,
based cream for your nipples.
I don't know. I think uh, it definitely wasn't that fucking mountain either,
No,
because
Mount Val was a tough one.
that
Because
was
you're there twice, basically. You have to go back in there, and I hate to say it, but I think this game peaked really early for me because I had the most fun. I think in Old Town, which is like part two, and that's
is that
I think you're still just
is that
Yuri
the one with
there.
the church?
Mm,
Is there's like
no,
a
it's the
church in it? You have to open the doors, or like it's
maybe.
some kind of building,
Yeah,
and you're
you're
going a lot
basically
on
like
the
jumping the
roofs.
rooftops and stuff of the old, like there's like an old section of the town, and then yeah, there's old buildings and
Yeah, okay,
puzzles to
that's
figure out in
when.
there.
So your dad has like fucked off somewhere after not meeting with you,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and you go, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, no, I would agree with that.
that's a
And it's
fun
not to
one.
say the rest of the game is bad, but I think that does a good job of. And you touched on this earlier on, the ability to like pick items up, and that's something we've not really mentioned, I don't think. But
Yeah,
as well as being able to use spells as spells, and to that effect, you can actually use multiple. If you switch between characters, you can use multiple types of the same spell to build it up to higher levels,
oh that's
which
right. Yeah,
frankly I never did because I just found it a bit too fiddly to bounce
yeah,
between the
me too.
stylus. And
It was putsy.
but you can also drag the spells out of your inventory and onto the map, which you can then pick up and use physically for
Yes,
puzzles and what have you, which
yeah,
I thought was a really nice touch. I
yeah, that was
really
kind of
quite
cool.
enjoyed that.
Like you could use the stylus to drag like a fire magicite out of your bag, and then it would pop off onto like the top screen, and then you could pick it up and drop it in whatever little receptacle it needed to go in. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
kind of
which
fun.
usually opened a door to another area or something like that. And I just thought,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
go on.
Oh,
No, no, no. Go on.
another fun one was I think it was the water and the electric magicite. You could drop it into the water and it would like electrify the entire water. I don't know if you had to drop it in or if you just did the electric spell in a body of water, but sometimes there was like switches in water that would get activated by an electric current. That was kind of
Oh,
fun too.
right. Like, I don't remember that, but that is awesome.
Um, trying to should we talk about the story too? This probably seems like it's all over the place, but I mean, there's um, 9 or 10 uh, different dungeons. But kind of the gist of the story, I believe, is that like this crystal is acting up or something. I've not played the GameCube version, and I guess you haven't either. But like, I don't know how this ties into it. I know that it's a prequel, but um, so I guess there's like kind of some dark forces that are either encouraging this or trying to make the world end by something. And I think you had to do something by a full moon, right? So like it's basically like we're on the clock here. If we don't solve whatever's wrong with this crystal by the time the moon hits this stage or whatever, then the world is over. They're gonna unleash hell or whatever.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it all boils down to, I think there's like a race of people who live on the moon. The Lunites, I think they were, and they were basically banished there. And you've got your main villain is it Galdes,
Yeah,
Galdes. Anyway, so basically, what he's trying to do is, and this kind of ties into like Yuri and Chelinka's power because Chelinka has a connection to the world's crystal, which is kind of how magicite works. So the way magic works in this game, I think, is that it basically picks through all of the parallel universes to find one where that magic basically happens and sets them on that path, I think. Um, so this dude Galdas is basically trying to become the god of the moon, I guess, and bring his people back down. And
right.
to that effect, he is kidnapping uh, these individuals who have this connection to the world crystal to basically sacrifice them to the corresponding moon crystal, which will then basically, I don't know, make him a god and
Right.
allow him to rewrite reality in any way that he sees fit. And at this point, you're thinking, this is not the cutesy kiddie game I thought it was going to be when I started playing.
Right, because I think it's not even implied. They kind of show it to you in a flashback that's kind of what happened to Yuri and Chelinka's mother is that she also, I think the reason why they have this connection is because through their mother, who is, I think, I think she was part of like the royal court somehow, and then married Yuri and Chelinka's father, and then
Yeah, that sounds
then
right.
they live in this valley or whatever. But um, basically, she gets kind of killed or sacrificed for this reason, and then I think maybe they made a deal to say like, okay, now you leave my kids alone, I guess. But they kind of don't because this, I think it's Stiltskin. Who's Stiltskin?
Co-
Oh, Stiltskin is that
Uh,
little that little Moogle
Moogle,
guy.
yeah.
No, I can't remember what. There's like,
Kuchaspel?
yeah, that's the one where he's like kind of the creepy henchman of the main
Yeah.
bad guy, and he's the one you
Kuch
see most often.
Exactly. And Kuchaspel, for my money, is like continuing an age old Final Fantasy tradition where you have this amazingly cool, spectacularly well designed villain for the vast majority of the game who then gets fucked off like towards the end and replaced by an infinitely less interesting villain. Because
Oh yeah,
Kuchaspel is probably hands down my favorite character in the game.
yeah, and he's such a fucker through the whole thing because he's like, he comes in and he's such a dick, and I think he
Yeah.
ends up. he ends up killing the father. I mean, spoilers. Sorry. I mean, this isn't the most available game for everyone to play unless you have a DS either. But kills the father, like just comes in and wreaks havoc all over the place. Like I think at some
Yep.
point, for several years, there's like a montage scene where Chelinka is like catatonic, and Yuri just kind of takes care of her and spends all of his time honing his like fighting skills,
That's
which is
right.
really harrowing because like everyone's left basically. Like Al isn't in the picture. Um, the father is dead now. Chelinka is in this kind of comatose state, and all he can do is just kind of brood and train
Hmm.
in weapons for years until he gets a little bit older. It's
Yeah.
like, holy fuck.
And that's the moment when I
Yeah,
first realized that, oh shit, like this is not the game I thought it was going to be.
yeah,
And like I've looked around and I've done a little bit of research and what have you, and I've seen a lot of people throwing shade at this story, and I'm just like, I don't get it, because
yeah,
fuck, like I really think they did a good job here. Like it deals with some heavy stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, basically this guy has come. So I think they still have their mother at this point, and she's not dead, but she is in their clutches, which leads to an even more fucked up moment later. Um, but this Kuchaspel is basically sent to bring Chelinka back because, being obviously the daughter of her mother, she has this connection too. So they can use her for their ends. And
right.
as you say, yeah, the father is killed off, and you get a frankly horrible scene of our man Yuri there burying his own father, which
Yeah,
I just
Jesus
thought was
Christ.
just
I
fucking harsh.
I think I blocked
Um,
this out because it was so terrifying. Just like such a horrible like.
it is, it
It's like
is.
if you were
Although
to
I
think
have to
about this
say,
game, you'd be like, "Oh, it's so cute," and then it's like, "Oh no,
yeah,
it's horrifying."
it presents itself as cute. You've got lovable characters with these like vocal affectations, and
Yeah,
it's a nice, colourful and pretty looking world. And then everybody fucking dies.
it's a video game
And
whimsical.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But special shout out. I've just looked it up. Liam O'Brien. I know you listen to Retrotopia, because why wouldn't you? But he's the English voice actor for Kuchaspel, and he does a fucking spectacular job in this. Like, I mean, this game has, just to touch on the voice acting a little bit, it does have voice acting, and it's about what you'd expect from a Final Fantasy game for the most part, especially
Yeah,
one as early as this. But this guy, he just goes in. Like, he is spectacular as Kujaspel. I mean, I really, really enjoyed every minute he was on screen.
yeah, I did appreciate the voice acting. It was a nice touch,
Yeah.
and it wasn't in every scene. It was just like the most important cutscenes were voice acted, and then it would cut back over to just like regular dialogue that you read. But
Yeah.
it was good. Um,
Yeah.
do you want to know
Go.
we were talking before we get off the topic of how dark the subject matter is? Do you want to know what I thought of when you reminded me how dark the story was? It wasn't
Go
that the
on.
dad died or that Yuri spends years in isolation after burying him and all that kind of stuff. It's the fact that you basically get banished to fucking hell and then have to fight your own father, like a demon version of your like a
Oh, God,
you have to
yes.
you have to face your own father in hell and you have to kill him.
Yep.
I was like,
Yeah. So
what the
basically,
fuck is
yeah.
happening?
So was it you go to the royal court
Yeah,
to try and convince the king that this temple of the moon or what have you is basically up to no good,
right.
and our Kuchaspel shows up again and
This
kills the
fucker.
king.
Mm-hmm.
This fucking guy.
Fucking
Um,
guy.
he shows up, stabs the king, calls the guards, and then fucks off,
Yep.
leaving you to sort of pick up the tab. So naturally, you're exiled to. This is. island, this volcanic island,
Yeah, what do they call it?
which you
I just had it pulled up. It's called Sinner's Isle.
there you go, and you basically fight your way through this island, and then yeah, you fall into what would appears to be hell. I don't know. I mean, it's
It really reminded me of what they call it. I mean, there's no name for it. It's just question marks
yeah,
in that part of the walkthrough. And I think in the game, like you get down there and it's just called question marks.
yeah.
Um, it reminded me of in the original God of War when you fall into Hades and have to fight your way back out.
Fuck, that's such a good game. We should
Yeah.
cover that game.
Oh my god, I'm gonna write that down right now. I've got a list
Write
because
it, write it down.
so for everyone's reference, today is Halloween. Happy Halloween, by the way.
Oh yeah, happy
Um,
Halloween. You have you been trick or treating?
no, we had it over the weekend, but
Oh, for real?
there's actually we're gonna go do a little bit of handing out of the candy. Some of the municipalities around here have it on Halloween night,
Oh,
which is
that's right.
nice.
I keep forgetting that it's like nearly 10 o'clock where I am. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I literally I just got off work. I met my wife and daughter outside, both of which were dressed as Pikachu,
Oh,
and
brilliant.
we just took our little 3-year-old around for her very first trick or treating. So
So you had two Pikachu's, and what were you? Just
T-
yourself?
well, I just come from work. I didn't have a chance to like get into costume, so
Oh,
that sucks. But it was still
that's all right.
still a lot of fun, and
It's still
she's in bed.
it's really it's for them. It's for the kid.
Yeah, well, she's in bed now, and there's unguarded sweets downstairs. So hey,
Uh-oh.
uh-oh. Anyway,
Yeah.
getting back to Ring of Fates. So yeah, you have to fight your own father, and is it around about here like you find out that this plot, whatever the Loonites plot is, was you sort of go back in time through your father's memories, I think, and
Yeah,
find out
you
that
get sent back in time.
yeah, to find out that this has all kind of happened before, but fairly unsuccessfully, which basically led to the leveling of this entire city.
Yeah, that's the part
Uh,
that was kind of like the water temple because what happened was there was a giant flood that leveled the city and you have to like manipulate the system of locks to like make your way through this
Yeah, and as you're going through, you're
castle.
catching flashbacks of what was happening
Mm-hmm.
like back then, which I really liked from a story point of view. There's a lot going on, and it's so that after that, I think your father and mother ran away and lived their lives and what have you,
Until they got
and
murdered.
till one of them got murdered and one of them got kidnapped, and then you have to go and stop Galdiz from sacrificing your mother to I guess the moon crystal to basically become the embodiment of the moon god,
Right.
and you fail, and
Mm-hmm.
your mother is sacrificed in front of you, and he
Mm-hmm.
becomes the moon god. And what
Mm-hmm.
the fuck are we playing, Sam?
Yeah, this is like why so traumatic? Why is it so traumatic? This is like
I just came, I just came here for a good time.
this is an adorable looking DS game and it's like the darkest story probably of anything I've played in the last year.
Absolutely,
And I'm currently
absolutely,
playing Silent Hill 2.
yeah. Silent Hill
um
2 is easily less, I don't
it's
know,
it's less
heavy
dark.
than this
It's less
game.
yeah, it's less
Less
heavy.
less dark, less dark. So yeah, so then you have to fight this Galdiz, and we've probably missed out a bunch along the way. But I mean,
Nah,
this is
yeah.
as convoluted as Final Fantasy stories get. And I think you lay the smackdown on him, and then he
Well,
basically
before
tried. Go
that
on.
though, there was kind of a cool little boss rush where you swap between all four characters on their own and you have to go through and kind of like refight all the bosses in the game
Oh,
as
I'd
each
forgotten about
individual
that.
character. Like they each start back in that courtyard and you have to run in as each individual one.
Sure,
And that was
sure.
kind of fun. But
That
yeah,
was that
then
was,
you get to Galdes.
and I think like he basically being this god and using the crystal which, as I mentioned before, is a sort of way to like pick from multiple different realities to get the results that you want. He basically tries to find a reality in the infinite number of alternate parallel universes where
Yeah.
Yuri and Chelinka are not together,
Yeah, but they're together in every reality, aren't they?
which
Is
is
that what
almost
that's what
impossible.
frustrates? Yeah, and that's what frustrates
Yeah.
him, right? Yeah.
So that's not something he can do, which means he can't force that new reality. And it basically ends, oh God, and this is where it gets really confusing. So the way I understand it is that between them, Yuri and Chelinka managed to trap Galdes in a loop in time, so that
Yeah.
he's because but he basically ends the game, and again we're getting into heavy spoilers here. He
Yeah.
basically ends the game like continuously trying to force that result to no avail
Right.
over and over and over again, and he's just basically repeating, and like at one point you hear his thoughts just say "help me," and I'm just like, fucking hell, like we just destroyed this guy's soul. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is ridiculous.
There was
But go on.
oh, how did you figure out, cuz you say he like traps you in that kind of like in between space. Are you talking about like where you've defeated the main fight and then there's those kind of rune rings that are kind of surrounding him and you have to cast your magicite spells in each one? Because that kind of is what
Th-
ends the game or what finishes the boss fight, right? I don't know if you remember that.
yes,
How
yes,
did you
yeah. No,
figure that out? I had to look it up.
no, I had to. Yeah,
I
hundred
was like,
percent,
but there's no
100%.
indication. You have
No,
to basically cast your magicite spells in order. It was like fire, lightning, cure, and then ice or something like that. I don't know if that was it, but I'm just throwing out like four
yeah, no,
spells. Basically,
you're
each
absolutely right.
yeah, each character has to cast a spell inside one of these kind of like runic circles to activate the thing. And it's like, but how do you know which one to do? And then if you fuck it up and take too much time to figure it out, then he reactivates the entire battle. And you can run out of
Yeah.
magicite too. So like I don't really understand how this was like a well-designed final sequence cuz
No, I'll give you that because if you
you could get
don't know
stuck
what
in
you're
there.
doing there, you could easily just lock yourself into an unwinnable fight. And like, I suppose having not played it quote unquote legit, knowing what I was doing at the time, because I mean, fuck off with your like your last minute. Because bear in mind, like you've had what 2 or 3 fights with this guy by this point,
Right.
and this is literally the final. This is all you need to do to win the fight and complete the game. And I'm just like, fuck off. I'm not figuring all of that out at the risk of going back and having to do all of that again. No way.
Right. It's like, okay, I get it. Just give me the sequence of this so I can finish. And then also like to compound that at this point, especially if you're kind of maybe not enjoying it as much as you did at the outset because some of the dungeons get a little long in the tooth and some of the puzzles and some of these dungeons are a little bit wonky and frustrating. It's
Mm.
just like I'm so fucking done at this point. I just looked it up and I was like, just get me through the end because
Get
I
get
don't
me
want
to
to
the
sit
end.
here. I don't want to sit here for another like 2 to 3 hours to try to figure out the exact sequence of magicite spells that I need to cast in these circles. Because really,
And
like,
I am
unless you have a really good memory, without a pen and paper to try to like kind of figure out even if you understood that that's what you needed to do, you would still need to find out the correct sequence of four spells to cast in what order.
sure. And there's probably something that we're missing. There's probably a way that we haven't realized. But
Yeah, maybe
this
they
is not our
hinted it
first.
somewhere.
This is not our first rodeo. So go fuck yourself. But I mean, I'd already like it's frustrating because I'd already been killed by this boss a couple of times, even just to get to that point.
Right.
And like, I was ready to put this thing down. Like, it was late. I wanted to see it through, and I genuinely wanted to see how the story ended. Even though, like, I'm not going to pretend I understood everything that happened. I think I've got a reasonably loose but not terrible grasp on it. Excuse me. So you beat Galdes, you trap him in the time loop,
Mm-hmm.
But something they mention earlier on in the game is that the use of Yuri and Chelinka's powers diminish them. So
Right.
every time that Yuri taps that power, he shortens his own lifespan. Every time Chelinka uses the power, she like loses power or what have you. And you beat this boss, you know seal him away, and then Yuri basically starts to die because
Yeah.
everyone else has died. Why not this small child?
Yeah.
Like fuck,
Let's just finish
and
everyone off on this game.
let's just why not? And it basically gets to the point that Chelinka uses the last of her power to like force a Hail Mary where and I'm not entirely sure of this, but I think she basically scours or contacts or something to do with every other version of them in every other universe. And she basically rewrites all of reality.
Yeah, the end sequence is like real fucking long. I was surprised.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're not talking like Metal Gear Solid 4 long, but
No, but
it's beefy.
like a kiddie looking DS game, like it is really long. And it really I
Yeah.
think it's like, well, we fucking opened up this can of multiverse worms. I guess we got to tie up the loose ends. It's ending
Absolutely.
up being like a fucking Rick and Morty episode with like like where Morty dies in that one reality, but then they replace like
Oh yeah, because they just replace their dead bodies. Oh, fucking show. Um, but yeah, that is a. I mean, I don't know that that's exactly what they do, but they do end up both Yuri and Chelinka alive and well,
right.
back as the children they were at the start of the game, with their mother and father, both brought back to life,
That's right. Yeah.
and and Yuri remembers everything that happens. I think that Chelinka does, but I don't know if it's the same one that sacrificed herself to bring all this about. That's what I'm not clear on. Um, but I suppose everyone, after all of this horrible shit, everyone gets a happy ending. And I ain't gonna lie to you, mate. Like this, the ending of this game, when everyone's sort of back and happy again as a family, like I choked up some.
Yeah, it's a nice ending for sure.
Like after everything that's happened, and like they really put these characters through the ringer, and it's nice that like they at least
The
clawed it
ringer of
back.
fates.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
That's why it's called. That's why it's called that. But yeah, it's just like happy endings all around, and I'm an emotional wreck.
Well, yeah, at least for all the darkness, I feel like that's almost the only way they could get away with having a game of this style be so fucking dark is that it's like, but there's a
Mm,
happy ending at the end. Like,
yeah,
everyone ends up together even though all of them almost have died or like they've, there's
yeah.
multiple realities where they're all miserable.
Which is kind of why I asked you off the top whether you'd completed the game because,
Right,
like,
yeah.
can you imagine? Can you imagine if you like you tap out towards the end like this game is in Artax and Atreyu in the Swamp of Sadness
Oh god.
without
Why
without
would you
the
bring that
end of
up?
the film. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Everything's all right by the end,
That's a
but
traumatic
if you,
childhood moment.
I know, and like I don't know how young or old our listenership is, but some of you out there just got hit right in the fucking fields.
Oh god,
So,
right in the grief crotch. He just kicked you right in the grief crotch.
not sorry, not sorry. Discord,
Artax.
come and find me.
Oh man.
Mm. But yeah, and that's it. I mean,
Now I'm
fuck. Is
sad.
there anything?
No, I don't
Is
really
it?
have anything else on this game.
I mean,
The story
fuck.
is
What
wild.
the story is fucking wild. I mean, it goes places, and they. I mean, this could have just been a fun, slightly wonky, cutesy
Yeah.
little handheld. I mean, and that's the thing we have to appreciate. I mean, this is like a handheld game,
Mm-hmm.
so
For
you know,
sure.
I for better or worse, like they cram a lot of ideas into this fucking thing, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that they went so hard on the story because you know that's kind of what you want from a Final Fantasy game. You know, if the gameplay's not the same, if they've changed a lot, I'm glad that they still have that bonkers fucking story to fall back on.
Right. Right. And I do appreciate from a gameplay perspective I guess we're kind of starting to wrap things up a little bit, but like from a gameplay perspective on the console it's on and the DS, I always appreciate kind of novel use of that touchscreen on the bottom. Um,
Sure.
I think I enjoyed this game way more than if I would have played it on, like, I don't know. I guess the PSP was out at the time, so like if something like this had come out on the PSP, it would not have been as fun. Or something like this on the Switch would not have been as fun because you miss out on at least some of the elements of having that bottom screen and all the kind of things
Yeah.
that you can do to interact with the game.
I mean, it was a DS game, as you mentioned, so you have to do something with that bottom screen. Like, I
Yep.
don't know that every DS game that was released needed that functionality, and I'm not 100% convinced myself that. I mean, while it's neat and while you can do some cool things with it, I don't know that I would have missed it if it wasn't there. Um, but that said, we'll never know. So
Yeah.
it's a moot point.
Who knows? But
Who
what are you giving
knows?
this game out of 10? What are you going to give it out of 10? What are your final
See, this is a
thoughts?
this is a tricky one. I mean,
Yeah.
I did enjoy this game when I was playing it. I thought it was chock full of charm and character and sweetness and light and bunnies and then existential horror and trauma and just God, everything, every conceivable emotion. I mean, the gameplay, as we've said, it was fine for what it was. It was wonky to the point of hilarity sometimes, but
Yeah.
never like all, never all the way broken. Lots of good ideas, maybe a touch overlong, perhaps. Again, I'd hear that argument, but I don't know. I think I don't regret playing it. I don't regret buying it. I do want to play Crystal Chronicles now and see how that stacks up. I think I'm just going
Yeah,
to
I
give
kind of do too.
this somewhere in the neighborhood of about a 6.5,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. I think that's kind of about where I am too. I mean, all of your points are valid. I agree with everything. There was one point that I think I kind of broke the game because I couldn't figure out where to go, and I ended up off in this really weird spot, which I don't know if it was meant for me to be up there. In the last
Mm.
in the last dungeon area, I had to do something really strange to get up there, and I don't know that I was supposed to be up there. Like I said, it was like kind of a weird feedback loop I was in, and then I figured out that's where I had to do that ground pound thing. So yeah, I
Okay.
mean, there is definitely some weird shit in this game that I don't think was intended. Um, but I think I'm right around like a 6. Would I play it again? Mm, no, maybe not. Um, but it did have its moments. There were points where I was really enjoying the loop, the gameplay loop, and there were other times when I thought it was absolute dog shit. So, um, and maybe going back and playing it again, I would kind of understand a little bit more of the different strategies of the gameplay, like of the how you can kind of manipulate the structure, like the function of the game, and kind of not be as frustrated with your party completely getting destroyed every 5 seconds. Um,
Yeah.
and this was multiplayer, wasn't it? I think it's meant to be co-op, and I think Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube was meant to be an experience for multiplayer. I
Oh
think
yeah,
I
absolutely.
think
I mean,
that's
I know.
why your party members are absolute dog shit because it's really
Yeah.
encouraging you to play it with friends. which could be kind
And
of
something
fun.
we Sure. Something we didn't mention about this one as well is that I think there is a multiplayer aspect to this game outside of the main story, which takes
Yeah,
place after the story. And obviously, for the record, it's 2024. I only know of one other person who's played this game, and that's you. And
and
there's
it's
no
and
way that
it's me.
and it's you, and there's no way that like we are connecting up to play this game multiplayer. And I don't think we need to.
No,
So if you did play this game back in the day, and you enjoyed the multiplayer, that's great. Not something we touched on, but
no.
I don't know.
But it sounds like it
We
would have
can't
been
we can't.
fun, like one of those things where you can all have your DS and kind of sit in the same room and be connected.
Yeah. Do you remember when we did that? When we used to all sit in the same rooms and play video games together and what have you? Like,
Oh hell yeah!
good
Tethered by a
times.
link cable.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep. Good old link cables.
Well,
Ah,
so this
better
game gets
days.
a 6 from me and a 6.5 from you. Not a glowing recommendation, but it has its elements. And yeah, if you have a DS and you have the opportunity to play this game, if you either have it laying around or you see it in your retro game shop for a reasonable price, I don't think this game is astronomically expensive on the
No.
resale market. I think it's you could probably get it for, especially like a loose copy. I wouldn't see this going for more than like 15-20 bucks.
No. No.
It's
I don't
very
think so. And
reasonable. It's worth checking out maybe.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, give it a go. And if you do play it, and if you have played it in the past, and you want to tell Sam and myself why we're wrong about literally anything that we've said today, then obviously, again, come along to our Discord, come along to any of our socials, and come and have a yell at us. You can find it all at Linktree,
Yep.
linktr.ee/Retrotopia. And of course, you can find all of our wonderful Retrotopia episodes every Sunday, wherever you get your podcasts. And that's all I can think to say. So, how about it, Sam?
Yeah. So we'll play us out. I don't know what's coming up next week because I don't know when this will fall in the grand scheme, but maybe we'll tack on a little extra bit at the end here to tell you what's next, or maybe we won't.
Sure.
Uh,
Or maybe we won't.
maybe we'll be chaos agents. But have a great week of gaming, everyone, and we'll talk to you next time.
And until next time, you can call me
Oh.
Al.